Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I'm here with Afia. Afia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Obviously, we've been talking just before we started about just like what the topics that I wanted to touch on today. And so they're important topics, but I'm also happy I'm talking to you about it because you're such a bright, happy, energetic person that I'm just looking forward to the conversation, and just talking and just, getting to know more about each other's culture and all these other things. But before we do that, could you give a quick introduction about yourself so people know who we're speaking to today?
Ooh, okay. Just so you know, you didn't tell me I needed to teach. I'm Afia Abu Sham. I'm my family is Sudanese. I grew up here in the UK. I'm an actress. I also do poetry. Me and Jeff do poetry nights and a rap night together. Just creative and, been talking a lot about what's happening in Sudan, which is like the main reason why I'm here today.
And I know we spoke about before, obviously we do poetry, we do rap together. And so that's why we know each other from work. And I think, one of the times that I saw you do a poem about Sudan, and I was genuinely, like I said before, I was touched. I was like, that's brilliant poetry. It was just incredible. But no, it got me thinking, oh wait, I want to have a conversation about this, and I want to kind of talk about this, but also art and also culture and all these things here, which is why we're here. But let's start with kind of a little bit of a background, very very small background of what's been happening in Sudan. Could you, if someone's never heard of Sudan or what's going on, or little bit of a history of what's going on, what would you tell them? How would you kind of introduce them to the topic?
So I always find it really hard to do a really brief thing. So I'll do a really, really brief, and then maybe we'll talk.
It doesn't have to be brief, for the whole conversation.
Well, I feel like if it's not brief, it will be the whole conversation.
Fair enough.
So right now, people have probably heard about Sudan because there's a war. The war started on the 15th of April, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because two parties, SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, and RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, basically started fighting each other. So a lot of what we've been hearing is that there's a civil war. It's not a civil war because the civilians are not fighting each other. It's a war on civilians. Because both parties are attacking the civilians. But then why I kind of say it needs to be a bit of a bigger conversation is to understand why they are doing this. So basically, in 2018, 2019, there was a peaceful revolution by the people to get rid of the 30-year dictator, Omar al-Bashir. And like I said, it was peaceful. So they were met with a lot of violence, and they remained peaceful. And they basically eventually, so the protest started in December 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, in April 2019, the protests were still happening. And so they decided that because he hadn't left, the dictator, they were going to stage a sit-in outside the military headquarters and not leave until he stepped down. So I remember here in the diaspora, we were watching on Facebook Live because people were live streaming it, and it's sitting there at night watching people being fuck, it's gonna get. Sorry, I don't know if I'm.
No, you got to swear. You got to swear. No, keep going.
Being we're literally, it's gonna get dark. We don't know what they're gonna do, and then you're just hearing gunshots, and you're oh my god, are people gonna die? Are people gonna leave? And people just stayed without violence. They just stayed, and there was obviously they would have had to run, so they didn't just die, but that basically didn't deter them. And eventually Bashir did, I say, step down. Basically, there was a coup within his own party, within the military, that forced him to step down. And then they put in a replacement. What was his name? It doesn't. His name is so irrelevant because he lasted one day. Okay, so they brought him in, and they were no. We said Tuskut, the regime must fall. We're not leaving until the whole regime falls. So they brought this guy in for a day, and people were we're not leaving because he's the same guy. So the next day he was gone, and then they brought in Burhan, who's now the head of the Sudanese Armed Forces. And so the people were still like,
Just
you cut the
replace
head off
them.
the snake, because
Yeah.
they're just giving us another snake, you know? So they stayed, and then basically it ended up being like a huge like sit-in outside the military headquarters. And like, I wish I could, like, it was huge. Like, I don't know how big of a space I can tell you it was. I'm trying to think of something to liken it to.
Like the amount of people that turned up to the thing.
The amount of people, but also the amount of space that it took up.
Okay, yeah.
Because what happened is, like, they arrived in April and they stayed for months. And so basically, like, one of the things that it, like, ignited in me is I'm Sudanese, but I'm a creative. And like, Sudanese, like, your doctors and your lawyers, and like a lot of like African, like, diaspora kids. You know, that's what you should do. And so I didn't know any like Sudanese actors or anything at the time. But what was so beautiful was seeing that, like, the art that came out of it. So like the streets on the walls were all suddenly covered in art. The ground was covered in art. They ended up having, it was so beautiful. They ended up having like stages up, and like people were like performing. Some like people from like other countries, like diaspora people, flew in to like perform on the stage, like at the sit-in. Like it just became like this big hub. They had like schools for street children, because the street children were there. They had like little like different stands and booths going along, so that like different people could give talks. So like maybe like the Communist Party would give a talk, or like your neighborhood committee would be there. So like our neighborhood committee was there, like we would walk through and stuff like that. Like people had football games, like they had library, like, do you know what I mean? Like they had makeshift hospitals, but like notice that I'm saying plural. It's not like a makeshift hospital, it's like makeshift hospitals. So big. And so like that was so beautiful. And then I ended up coming because my dad was like, some people are like bringing a flight from like people from London, you should come. And I hadn't been back for like 16 years. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go back. Me and my mum were like, okay. Me and my mum came back. So I'm really grateful that we got to see that.
What was it like when you got there and you saw it? What was your first like a reaction to seeing that level of scale of like resistance in that level?
It's mad. Like, it's beautiful, but like it's like that thing of like what I was saying to you earlier about like I love theatre, because when you're on a stage, like you feel like the energy of the audience. Like I feel like I can liken it to that, not because it's staged, but because like it's like this collective feeling, and like it's this collective resistance, and like everyone was unified in that. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about Sudanese people is like their generosity and their kindness, and how like I said, like I remember in the sit-in, there was a box on the floor and it said, if you need some, take some. If you have some, leave some. And it was a box of money.
Oh, wow.
It's just like a box. It's like, if you have some, leave some. But if you need some, then take some. And it's just like no one's guarding the box.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, if you need it, then take some. And then like, there's like multiple entrances to the sit-in, because basically the capital city is like a tri-state city, because the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet in the capital Khartoum, and then it goes north up to Egypt. So like we have Khartoum North, and Omdurman, and that's like the 3-state capital. So to get, at least for us to get into the sit-in, we would have to like cross one of the bridges. So there's loads of bridges in the capital, Niles everywhere. So but what I do remember is like going with my family, like my first day I arrived, haven't seen them. It like everyone's been fasting because it's Ramadan, and like everyone's gone to sleep, and then they've woken up, we're going to break our fast, and then they're all like, what do you want to do? Like, you're in Sudan. I'm like, I want to go to El Qiyada. So El Qiyada is like the name of the sit-in. It means like the military headquarters. And they're like, you've just come here and you want to go to the military? I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. Obviously it was nice to see them, but that was like the big thing.
That was what the trip was, to kind of...
It ended up being both. It was like a reunion with my family and to see that, and just kind of like to bring me back to my culture, I think. Because like I'd been here, then I lived in the States. I think my time in the States was like very separate from my culture. Then I came back. But yeah, one thing I do remember is like driving, everyone's like pulling up, and then there's like military trucks and guns pointing, and there's the bridge. And it was like, I'm going to have to walk past guns to get onto the bridge. I've never walked into
the firing line.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's important to point out, like, again, like the slogan of the revolution was Silmiya, which means peacefully. So everyone was saying like Silmiya, Silmiya, which was like, we are the peaceful ones, like they're the violent ones, like we will not pick up arms, like even if they like try to give us weapons, if they lay weapons down, I was like people would be like, no, like that's not what we do. Like there's even like videos of like people with their weapons and like civilians being like, what are you doing? Like, we're brothers, we're family, like stop, like put your weapons down, like but refusing to take up arms. So it was theirs.
I just a question I had while you were describing that. It's like, what, first of on two levels, right? First of what is misunderstood about it? So obviously, even for you, when you were hearing the news here, seeing the Facebook Live here, and then being on the ground there, what was that like? What did you realize on the ground that you didn't really understand? Like for us, because we're here trying to understand something that's going on there. What is that like when you're there, rather than hear about it on the news?
Yeah, I think. Well, one, it wasn't really much on the news because this is like 2019. So we're a little bit back. I'm still like just supposed to be telling you about the war. It's like the preamble to the war.
This is good preamble though. We need this.
But I think like the main thing was like we were all watching on social media, and it's like so easy to say like, no, we're peaceful. No, they're going to stay. Like, we're not going to leave until like the regime falls, especially us in the diaspora. Like, especially for some people's families left because they chose to. Some people's families were like had to leave, like my family. So it's like we all have our own different feelings about the regime. So like I said, like my dad calling me to come back to Sudan at this point is like, that's like the type of family I have. Do you know what I mean? So I think like it was like exciting in a way to finally see like this sort of uprising happening in Sudan, and like not that they haven't tried to do that before, but we can maybe get into that later if we want to. But that like Bashir basically coup-proofed himself because Sudan has like the most coups in the world, most coup attempts in the world. I think second to Chile.
Yes.
Yeah. So like Bashir to last 30 years, like he had to coup-proof himself. So that means we have loads of security forces. So he basically, any sort of uprising, he suppressed.
Yeah.
But the difference between like seeing it, I guess, like I said, on social media, I think again, yeah, you just like feel you can like you just I felt alive, like you know what I mean, and excited, but then like it made me realize like the scale of it. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm seeing videos and they had like the March of the Millions where like 1 million people came, and like people came from other parts of the country, people came from the south, north.
Yeah.
There's like loads of videos of Atbara where the first protest started, them coming in on the train and being greeted. Like I think it was like the scale, but also like that reminder of like the Sudanese spirit. Because like I said, like things like it being Ramadan, so people are fasting. When you're there, people are like, come break your fast with us, like come eat. Like you didn't need anything there. Like you could, hence why I'm saying like the street children had schools and libraries and stuff. Like it became a whole community, but you didn't need anything. Like companies, like there was a song like these like was it just two boys? They like started this song like Akhwana Shai and Shai Bijai. So they were like we're the like it was basically talking about tea. Shai is tea. Like we're like the
tea,
we're like the tea brothers.
Yeah.
And we haven't got any tea. We've got this type of tea, which is the brand of the tea. And we've got it with clean water, and we've got cake. That was the song. And then eventually like the company were like, okay, here you go. And like just supplied tea.
That's amazing.
Do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I think it was like that, like the generosity of Sudanese and the organization as well, because like I think a lot of the time when I tell people like, oh, we had a revolution, they're like, oh yeah, you went on the streets but you didn't plan for afterwards. It's like no, we planned for afterwards. Like this revolution like was also very practical because we also had like the Sudanese Professionals Association, which is like made up of doctors and lawyers and journalists and stuff like that. And like in Sudan, like doctors especially, but like doctors and lawyers and stuff also very political. And they kind of were like the professional body of the revolution, and like helped with organizing and like writing and educating people, but also like coming up with a structure of how they would want the government and the country to run. And so they were doing that, but like in tandem with like the civilians and like the youth on the ground and like the resistance committees, which was basically like young neighborhood committees, who were the ones that would be like out on the street protesting, but also like taking people to hospital and like making sure people were safe. So yeah, I think that was like the biggest thing for me, was seeing that, and then like seeing like the art all over the walls. Like when I talk about art, I'm like, all the walls of the city, like not just the sitting area, are suddenly covered in art. Like famous artists have painted like big murals on buildings. You've got a stage, like people are performing. Like I remember, actually, I have a video of like me crossing after walking through the guns.
Surviving the fire.
Obviously they weren't shooting, but it was like on either side, and it was like the army and the RSF, their guns pointed. It was like, I walk through there, over the bridge, and I'm going to be safe. It was like this weird thing of like, the army and them are outside and we're inside and we're safe. And like, again, going up, like, to talk about like trust, when you entered the sit-in, there was like security checkpoints, but again, it's voluntary. So like the people doing the security checks are like volunteering, and you volunteer to be checked because it's like the respect for the space. And so there was like songs everywhere. I can't remember the name, like the songs, but they would have songs, and like the boys would go there and the girls would go there, and you'd happily be like this because you're like, of course I want to be checked. Like it's like we're like keeping our space safe. Everything is like, you're not forced to do anything. So it was just like such a beautiful space, which I wish like everyone could see and experience.
That's amazing, because like you're speaking and it's really changing my perspective, because like people don't understand this part about the resistance. They don't understand how the people will come together and like really show their true selves, because in that space of like continuous struggle, like, you know, like you're walking through gun pointing at you, you really get to see people at their best, if possible, you know, because even with the darkness, the light also comes to light, you know, and people coming together and having a box where it's like take or leave. That's such a beautiful thing, you know, like when you see in the news, and I'm glad you could describe it for us, what it's like to be there, because when you see in the news, you don't see this. The news is just, will tell you about the most tragic thing that's happened, but they won't tell you about, actually also there was a box with people leaving money, and the Sudanese people came together, and their core culture was also shown through, and the generosity of the people, you know, which I think is so important, which I want to try and highlight in this conversation too, was that underneath everything that's going on is a people whose like resistance is so beautiful, and it's like led through creativity and art, and it's like when you're part of that kind of thing, it's proud, you know, you feel proud to be part of that. And I think a lot of African, that is about that, you know, and with the struggle is also the beauty. You know, we've kind of learned to kind of take the good and make it into beauty, but I think also it is it's beautiful to see that, and it's incredible. I think it's important that now, because nowadays you're seeing it come back into the news again. Well, I think everyone's known about Sudan underneath for a long time, but now it's come back to the news again. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Why it's back in the news again, and what's happening now with it?
Yeah. So basically, I'm only going to touch and then we'll go back. Like, we had this revolution, and what happened was, like I said, the people stayed. They stayed until June 3rd, when there was what we call the June 3rd massacre, which is where like the RSF and the SAF and the police and the security forces, like I said, we've got loads of different forces, basically joined together and attacked the sit-in and like killed and raped everyone.
Holy shit.
So because well, one of the reasons I think why was because we this will explain the war, I promise. Basically, like I said, like they didn't just have this sit-in with ideas going, oh, we're just going to stay and this is going to happen. Like things were planned. And so what happened was the Sudanese Professionals Association, which were kind of like the organisation body, put out a call for civil disobedience, mass civil disobedience, because they were like, cool, they're not listening to us, so we're going to show them that the power of the people is stronger than them. So no one's going to work. We are going to shut down the country. So they shut down the country.
Holy shit.
No one went to work. Like, I remember conversation, because I was there. I was only supposed to come for a week. I had a show. And then it was like civil disobedience on the day I'm supposed to fly. It was like, well, the airport was closed now.
It's like, oh man, can we do it tomorrow again?
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, but then it was also kind of like, oh,
that's amazing.
Now that I'm here, I want to stay for
I want to see what happens. No.
Yeah. And so they did that. And I think that was kind of like, oh, like they really
serious
business. Yeah. And like, you know, people were worried. People were being told like, if you don't come to work, you're going to get fired. And like, I remember conversations with my family, like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to get into trouble. And it was like, but if no one goes to work, they can't fire everyone. And it's that type of mentality. And like, that's how strong the unity was, that like they managed to like shut down. And I think maybe it happened again. I can't remember, but I think that was one of the reasons why they kind of did this massacre. It was also the day before Eid, so it's like the end of Ramadan, which is really ironic because people like to say that they're doing things in the name of God, but you're going to kill everyone on the last day of the holy month. It's not very godly. But so there was that. And then there was, to skim over things, there was, after that, like there was an internet blackout. There was this whole thing on social media, like Blue for Sudan, lots of people posting their blue. It kind of, it brought Sudan like into like the world's attention because basically Rihanna like tweeted a blue picture. Thank you. It brought things into people's perspective, which meant like the international community had to like be like, oh, what's happening in Sudan is really, really bad. They're having a revolution. We should support the civilian government. Instead of supporting the civilian government, they told the civilian government, like, you can have a civilian government if you have a 3-year transition with the military. It's like, these are the people that have been murdering us for years, but especially now, like this whole massacre. So yeah, we'll go back to this. I'm going to be quick so we can get to where we are, and then we can come back.
Take your time. It's fine. You can. It's important that you explain these for people because they don't have the perspective that you do. So there is no rush. If you do want to take us on a while, we will completely there with you.
Okay.
That's important too.
Okay. So yeah, there was this massacre, which like disrupted the sit-in, and then they basically like. A lot of what we're talking about is like what's happened in the capital. So I think that's like really important to remember because Sudan is a huge country. Like it was the biggest country in Africa until 2011, and now it's the 3rd biggest country in Africa. So even though we lost nearly half of the country, like that's how big a country is. That I'm talking like about the capital in this moment. Yeah, so they had this massacre, and there were other sit-ins around the country that also got dispersed. But because I was in the capital and most of the news is centralized there, like that's what I know the most about. Yeah, they basically did that and like kind of like besieged the whole city. Because I remember like we were there in the daytime and we were like, oh, we're going to go break fast. And everyone there's like, no, break fast with us. And they were like, I'll come back. Like, I promise I'm coming back. I'm just going to go home and eat.
Yeah.
And then it rained. And because it's a sit-in area, like there's like live wires everywhere. I've like taken wires from like lampposts, put on projectors, and you know. So my dad was like, "Don't go right now. Like it's flooded. We're trying to drain the water out." So luckily, it meant a lot of people weren't there that night. Like not as many people as could have been there. And then phones stopped working. Like I remember trying to call my cousin to get a lift, and like I couldn't like.
Reach him.
Yeah, I couldn't reach him. And then like he came by later and we're like, we tried to call you. It's like, what are you talking about? And then like at like 5 a.m. I remember being on like the roof as the sun was coming up and like hearing like shot. This is one thing that's interesting is like you acclimatize really quickly. So like I said, like the first day walking through like the guns being like, oh my God, to like hearing a gunshot and like my cousins being like, that's a gunshot, and the other cousin being like, no, that's now
it's like a noise, a different noise.
Tear gas.
Okay.
That's tear gas. Like
different types of weapons.
Sounds,
yeah.
Anyway, so basically you could hear that, and then basically not only did they do that in the sit-in, they then started coming through like all the neighborhoods, like going around like shooting to like make sure everyone stayed inside so people didn't resist against them. Because I remember people coming out on the street and being like, we're going to the sit-in, like we're going to march, and it was like, then there's suddenly snipers on the roof and you're like, what
the fuck is happening? Yeah.
So I remember my cousin being like, we're going to go to my aunt's across the road, and suddenly like calling her, and she's like, I had to go in the neighbor's house because suddenly they were shooting, and it was like shooting in the neighborhood, like
as civilians, just like,
yeah, like get inside, the revolution's over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why am I telling you this?
This is insane. No, you're telling because I asked first off, but no, this is insane because you're thinking these are like people. Like, I know it's obvious, but they are doing this in the name of a job, or they're doing this in the name of something else, but they're also people of Sudan. You know, like they've grown up there, they've went to school there, and now they're turning up against their own people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the tragedy in that. It's like you don't see yourself as part of the people you're trying to like shoot from a sniper. Where is the love of your own people? That's so obvious in culture. You know what I mean? It's a tragedy to see that turned for them. And I in their heads, I'm doing this because I've been told and I've got no. But you do have an option.
Yeah, exactly.
The people
you have an option.
The people there trying to fight against that government. Don't you think they had that same realization?
And that's what they're saying to them. They're like, join us.
You're
like, please, like, be with us. And that was one of the sad things that, like, the RSF, because they'd mostly been in Darfur as the Janjaweed, now the RSF, or they'd been hired out, like, by Saudi Arabia to, like, fight in Yemen and stuff. And also, like, the news is controlled. Like, that's where I think the difference is between, like, diaspora and people in Sudan. Some things where I'm like, I can have my strong feelings, but I don't live in Sudan. Like, so, like, your feelings have to come first. But then there's also the thing of, like, I've had news from outside of Sudan about what's happening in Sudan. Like, do you remember, like, you know, when stuff started happening in Darfur, like, years and years ago, like, it kind of blew up, like, in the news. Whereas in Sudan, like I spoke to people and they were like, oh, we were just told that the people in the West were like bad people. And so like they were defending us against them. And it's like, oh no, that's not what, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when the RSF came in, they came in under the guise of like, we're here to protect you, the civilians. And we're here to help you like overthrow Bashir, the dictator. So there's like videos of them like celebrating with the RSF and like putting them up on their shoulders. Like we finally have like people supporting us, like people on like the army supporting us. Until they turned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the really sad thing. And especially like even now, like there's a lot of people that support like the Sudanese armed forces because they're like, well, we need an army. These are our people, the RSF, we don't know them. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure there are people in there that are good people and there's factions in there that are supporting you. But where are the people that are actually protecting you? Because right now, no one is protecting the civilians. And that's like...
That's the tragedy that's happening. Yeah, yeah. So up until today, as in like as we sit here today, I know recently something happened, and recently there was you said it's called a civil war, but it's not a war by civilians, it's a war on civilians by these two factions. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So basically, after there was this like transition where the civilians had to join with the army, the civilian government and the transitional military council had to join together for 3 years in order for the West to recognize like and support like this transition away from like the old regime. Basically, the head of the transitional military council was Burhan, who was the head of the Sudanese armed forces.
Could you talk to me about what's happening now and like, you know, just explain what the term civil war, how that's kind of obviously misled and misguided and what's actually the reality of it?
So basically, like I said earlier, there was this, in order for us to have like the transition to civilian rule, we were basically told by like the Western powers that we had to have this civilian government and the transitional military council for 3 years. And then there'd be like the peaceful handover of power to the civilian government, which history will always tell you is never going to happen, especially in a country that's had that many coup attempts.
Yes.
But so we had our civilian government, we had our Prime Minister Hamdok, and then we had the Transitional Military Council. And the head of the Transitional Military Council was Burhan, who is the head of the Sudanese Armed Forces. And the vice president of that was Hemeti,
Mm-hmm.
the head of the RSF. So they'd joined together to kill the civilians June 3rd. They'd then joined together to be part of this transitional military council. And they kind of, got legitimized. They like got invited to like, what's it called? The like king's, when the king comes in power.
Oh, and coronation.
That's it. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's it?
The thing with the whip when it starts chef.
Yeah. They got invited to all these like global things. It was
They start become officials. Yeah.
and basically this is like summer of 2019. In October 2021 there was a coup that like they took the civilian prime minister and like the two heads, the president and vice president of the military council joined together for this coup. And then stuff happens, and then do you know what I mean? And then we get to April 2023, and what's happened is that like you've got the head of the army as like the president, and you've got the head of the RSF as the vice president. Neither one of them wants to be second to the other one, especially when both of them are like commanders in their own right. So what happens is like tension rises, and then there's speculation as to who made the first move. We also have, to complicate things slightly, like the old regime, who we call the Kazan. Like, I can't remember the reasoning why, especially like in English. But they have basically like propped up. They are basically the old regime. They are like the Muslim Brothers in Sudan, like the Islamists, and they kind of are the ones that are like refusing to let go of power. Also, both of these other parties, but they're a big influence within the army. And they also have like their own people within the army. So yes, basically, we're in April 2023. We don't know who made the first move. There's rumors about which one. I'm not going to say because I might be wrong. And basically, people in Khartoum, the capital, wake up one morning and there's bombs dropping from the sky.
On the civilians?
Yeah, there's just bombs dropping from the sky. So imagine you're in London.
Yeah.
And you hear that, I mean, this is dramatic, that like Keir Starmer and Jeremy Corbyn
are
beefing, and they're trying to decide like they want to be like the biggest boy in the locker room.
Yeah. And then it started dropping bombs.
Like bombs are dropping from the sky. And I say it like that because people act like this is normal.
Yeah.
And that like we're in Africa, so of course that's what happens. I'm not saying that hasn't happened in parts of Sudan, like especially in Darfur and the Nuba Mountains. That's why what's happened recently is like so important because of how these people have been treated historically and continue to be treated. But if we're looking at like the capital, that's insane. Like literally, like I remember talking to my dad and him saying like, oh, I think like there's tensions, there's like rumors that there's going to be a standoff between like the RSF and the army. And then literally the next day, it's literally bombs are dropping from the sky because the army have help from Egypt and their aviation. And so they're dropping bombs to like get the RSF out. And the RSF, because they know how to work on the ground, because like the RSF have been like, that's the difference. Like the army have been trained to like kill their own people and stuff like that. But the RSF have like been to war and have been committing these genocides. Like they have dirty tactics. They're on the ground, invading people's homes, taking people's homes, like doing whatever they want to do. And the civilians, this is just what's happening. Like
the core in between these two powers just going at each other.
Yeah.
And using the civilians basically as like bludgeoning forces.
Yeah. And that's basic, and that's why it's not a civil war, because the civilians haven't like picked up arms and started this war, asked for this war. This is and like this is a war on civilians, and like why I say a war on civilians, and why I felt it was so important to give you like the context of the revolution is because it's seen as, at least by a lot of us, as a counter-revolutionary war, as like a punishment to the civilians for like daring to ask for more. So whilst yes, they are fighting each other, the attacks that there are on civilians on both sides are like there's no justification for it other than because of what's happened in the revolution, and for them not taking the sides of either one. I can go into that in more detail, but maybe you want.
No, I just wanted to say, like, first off, thank you. It's very, very difficult to kind of summarize a revolution, war, and all of that and also give us the from top down kind of perspective of it, like, you know, from the ground and also from where they are. So thank you for that. I think that's very important.
Because I feel like whenever people ask, I can say, like, okay, yeah, there's these two sides, the army and the RSF, and they're fighting each other and they want power. But then it's like... That's
very simplistic, yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, oh, well, the army must be good. And it's like, no, the army have always been hurting the civilians too. And do you know what I mean? So I feel like maybe you don't need it in as much detail, but I do feel like the detail also makes you understand, like, the Sudanese spirit and the Sudanese people. Absolutely.
And I completely agree. I think that's why I wanted to sit down with you today, because I was like, you don't just say that in one sentence. There's a whole back thing you need to go. You need to understand all these players and what their motivations are and why they're doing this and what that means for the people and all of this. Because I think often with these kind of conflicts, we reduce it too much. And when you reduce it too much, especially when it comes to like Africa, there's so much history between these people. In every parts of, you know, it's all separated. And it's like you mentioned, it's all connected. Yeah. In ways, Egypt is now kind of coming in somewhere, and like, you know, we know about UAE and all these things have their own fingers in the pie, especially with Africa, with the resources that's there. Yeah. These countries coming in to help, but they've got their own motivations for helping. And so they're going to want to have these powers being stored that they will benefit them. Doesn't really benefit the people. So I think it's very important to kind of have that perspective. Talk to me a little bit more about that now. You mentioned, like, how is it all connected? Like, in the ways that you understand it. I do want to move from the kind of talking about this to talking more about the culture of Sudan and what we're losing by this going on. So, like, before you know, actually go into that, actually, let's pivot a little bit. So I want to talk about the people of Sudan now. And you mentioned the culture and the beautiful culture of, like, giving and all these things. Talk to me about what home is like for you.
Yeah, I think it is that thing of, like, the culture of giving and generosity, and that, like, everybody's family. Because, like, the people in power have not invested in the country. There's not necessarily, like,
developments and, like, you know, like, role. Yeah. They're just taking the money for themselves, essentially.
Yeah, but, like, the beautiful thing is the people. And I remember, like, my mum always saying that. I remember years ago listening to something on the radio, and it was like someone who'd gone traveling and they'd gone to Sudan, and we were like, someone's gone to Sudan. Like, no one ever knows where Sudan is, what Sudan is, like, what that word even means. Do you know what I mean? And they had said, like, oh, there's not, like, loads of development here, but, like, these are some of the most kindest people you'll ever meet. And it's like, it's that generosity of, like, these people will bring you into their homes, they will feed you, like, they will treat you like family, and, like, they always find joy. So, like, even when, like, the war started and I'm, like, looking in my WhatsApp chat and my family are like, it's raining bullets, like, over the house, and it's and they're saying all of this. In between that, they're making jokes like, hey, who's going to come over for, like, tea? And, like, I've got the watermelon here, and, like, look what I've got for breakfast. And, like, just saying give stuff. And I remember writing in there, like, I'm really glad you guys still, like, laugh right now, because I'm in England and I'm freaking out. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm in England, I'm safe, but I'm freaking out. But, like, they always find joy and, like, always find laughter, and, like, everything is kind of like a celebration. Like, they don't necessarily do it so much now, but I remember when I was younger, like, when you had weddings, like, weddings last about 3 days. So, you know,
Africa, as you do, there's a lot to be done. A lot of food and celebrations to be had. A lot of people.
You can't, again, you're generous. Like, you can't just invite, like, that friend. If you're inviting that friend, the entire family.
The town has to come at that point. Yeah, because they can't, like, hear them. Oh, you didn't get invited.
That's the one thing.
That's the one.
Like, people will talk. Like, we can't do that.
Yeah, like, people will talk. It can't happen.
You can't not do that.
Exactly.
So I think is that like that joy and that celebration. Like, I remember, like, weddings, like, being on the street. Like, so, like, you'd have, like, I remember like one of the weddings, whichever day of weddings that like you'd have the henna, which is like where the women get their henna on their hands, and the guy also like has like the henna in his hand, and sometimes there's like traditional dances and stuff. And oh yeah, actually, I'm like glossing over, but you wanted to know about like the culture.
Yeah, no, but this is it. This is it. Like you're talking. There's a henna going on. All right, let me ask a more of a pointed question then. What is your what thing do you love most about Sudanese culture? That's an easier question to answer. What is? I know it's very hard, even though it's easy.
Like, no, I was on a tangent about something else. I think it is. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it is. It's just like the people and like the joy of like being family. I think for me, like it's the joy of being with family, because like I grew up here away from family and stuff like that. And what always surprises me, like when I go back, like I said, I hadn't gone back for like 15 years, and I went back and I was like, how are you the same as my brother? Like the way you two are behaving is exactly how my brothers behave. But like, how is that possible? Because we live on like
Other side of
like other sides of the world, and we haven't seen each other in years. And like this behavior is like so my brother or like so me, and it's like, wow, this is like family. But then I think that is also a Sudanese thing of like just very playful, very joyful. Like yes, people will be like maybe like yelling loudly or something at times, but like. Actually, not even so. Like sometimes people are loud, but Sudanese are actually quite like soft-spoken people. Like we're very gentle and we're very patient. And I think that's why like the regime has managed to last for so long, because we're like patient. I think that's also why like we managed to have the revolution that we did, like a peaceful and like patient sit-in, because it's like we will wait. Like Sudanese are chill. Like there is this meme, like there's no one more chill than a Sudanese. I'm talking to someone. This is one of the things I like about
Go on.
It's like, I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, yeah, because like, don't you just have like a bed at work? And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, like my uncle, like if the power goes out, I was just like, go sleep at work because he's got like a bed in the office. I'm like, is that not a thing like in like Egypt and Syria? A bed at work? And I'm like, yeah, there was one time I was going to like the police offices or like a government building to like sort out like my like visa, passport, documents, whatever. And like we knock on the door of like one of like the heads. I'm gonna call them the police. I don't know. I don't know what building I was even in.
Yeah.
Of course, just
led the way. Yeah.
Just try to catch up. And then I knock on the door and it's like, oh no, he's probably asleep.
In the middle of the day, he's just like,
just asleep.
It's 12 o'clock.
We're not gonna wake him up. He's asleep. And then another time we come. And then they ask for us specifically, and we're like, are we in trouble? And then they're like, ay, doctor, because my dad's a doctor. So everyone just calls him doctor. They're like, doctor, I have an x-ray. So like everyone always brings their x-rays to show my dad. Like they'll come to the house with the x-rays. But we're in this like government building, and the guy knew we were coming back. So he specifically bought his x-rays, calls us into his office. There's a bed in the office, obviously. Yeah. He gives my dad the x-rays and just like, no, stay. You look at my x-rays and I'll get someone else to try your document.
Tick for tat. Like, I know you're not on the clock, but that's so beautiful. That is actually beautiful. Like, it reminds me of Africa. Like, it just reminds me of Ghana. It's like, you're talking about like the loudness and like seeing people and be like, you're exactly like me. That's so similar. Like, going to the difference between Sudanese and Ghana is that we are loud and we are not very patient. So like, oh my God, so many times people would just be shouting at each other on the middle of the street. And you're like, what is going on here? And like the way they treat everyone like family, that's something I've never seen before. Like I remember, and I've said this before, I remember being in Ghana, talking to my mum about something, but we were speaking in my language. Someone's like, we're on the bus, I think, like the equivalent of the bus. Someone's sitting behind us and he's just sitting there listening. Then like halfway through, he's like, oh yeah, no, you should be doing this. And like, I'm like, I don't know who you are. And then my mum and him are going back and forth about my life and what I should be doing with my life. Who are you?
Everyone's family.
He's my uncle, I guess now.
Yeah. You're entitled to an opinion.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, and that's the beauty of that kind of like culture, you know?
Yeah. I think that is so... That's like, why are you? I don't even know you.
I don't even know you. But that's prevalent. Like people, older women will like shout at little kids they don't even know.
Yeah.
And they'll like pick them by your ear. And I'm like, I wouldn't even touch a kid I don't know.
God,
let alone discipline him.
Wait.
It's so crazy.
But also I feel like everyone knows who everyone is. Like I remember like coming back to like my like neighborhood and being like, oh no, everyone knows you're back. I'm like, I don't know everyone though. They're like, but they all know you're here.
They don't know who you are.
Yeah. And like, I remember there was like this little corner shop that I used to go to as a kid because like I don't speak Arabic, or like, I speak barely any Arabic. And so I remember, when I was a kid, I probably spoke it better. But I remember like they'd like send me to the shop to get stuff, and I'd be like, cool, I know how to ask for like this thing, and go to the shop. And I remember coming back like I said, like 15 years later, and being like, oh my God, this is insane. Like if I turn the corner, like the shop is here, and then seeing the shopkeeper and being like, oh my God, like I recognize your face. Like, I didn't even know I knew your face, and then I saw your face, and I was like,
you're still here.
I know you. Like what's going on? It's so nice.
That's the beauty of the joy of going back home, because I had the same feeling. I've left, like I said, left Ghana when I was 6, went back when I was like 18 or 19. So there's a lot of people I had no idea, but I remember like they would know me because, like you said, my mom would just leave them at the house. I look after them, I'm going to the shop. So they know me from when I was a baby. So they'll be talking to me like they know me. I have no idea who you are, but clearly you know me.
Yes.
So I'm just going to roll in this conversation because I can't be disrespectful. It's another thing.
Disrespectful.
Can't be disrespectful to all the people. You just gotta sit there, listen. Yes, yes, yes. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think that like I love that. I love that kind of part of like just the closeness that we have. And it's probably in other cultures, but also the closeness that we have in African cultures, and we're all different. We're all so different. We're so different in our own unique, completely unique ways. You know.
Yeah, we are, and it's like nice to see like the universality. Is that?
Yeah, that's a word.
I've wanted to add like an extra T in the word.
Universality.
Yeah, I was like, there's definitely more to do there. Like the universality in it, and like, but also the individuality. So it's nice, like, I'm with my family, and you see like the communal nature of it, and how everything is shared, and like you kind of have these shared beliefs. But then you kind of talk one-on-one, then like you get to know like the little frustration there or the little that, and it's like, okay, like we're all people. Like no matter, again, like I said with like the similarities, like we're all people, and no matter where we are, like we'll all have those like different frustrations. But I do feel like it's also nice there, like, well, I mean, obviously not now because there's like a war, but that you feel safe, like to go out, and like it's what I liked this last time was that like I was older, so like my cousins could drive, and like I had a mobile phone, so I could just like go out. Whereas before it'd be like, we're gonna go to this person's house, and you just press us, and you're gonna sit there until your parents tell you you're leaving all day. Whereas this time it'd be like, go to someone's house, and they'll like text my cousin and be like, Ahmed's gonna come pick me up now, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah. It's the freedom, man. It's so beautiful. They have that, right?
Yeah, and then to be able to like have that, just like the freedom to like hang out with my cousins now that we're older with that freedom. Like, not that it's not lovely to, it is also lovely to like hang out with my family and stuff like that, but to kind of like have that choice of being like, cool, we're gonna go here and we're gonna like pop here, and just like see how things have changed for them now that they're older, especially because like I'm one of the older cousins. Like I have cousins older than me, but they're like quite a lot older than me, and then there's like maybe 1 or 2 around my age. The rest are younger, so it's so funny to see them like growing up, and like just to like understand like the slang, and like what's life like on the street here. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Okay, like
they've got their own little.
What the kids do.
They've got their own little things and like sayings, and it's so funny. It's actually beautiful. Like thinking back on it now, like to see, because I often think, man, if I stayed, I would be just like them. But like to see them and to see myself, and you also notice the difference. It's like so clearly. Like I'm not much of a. One thing I disliked was like everyone knowing who you are. I don't like that, and everyone being in your business. People are just coming up to you and asking you, "What about your business?" I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I shouldn't even be talking to you, let alone asking me when am I going to get married, and like, when are you going to bring a wife home? No.
I'm from England.
We don't do that.
There's moments when you want to like pull that card and be like, but like, or like sometimes I used to be like that. They'd be like I said, like my Arabic is bad, but like there was one, so like there would be times when I was younger where like if I'd been there for a little bit long, like the novelty of like being the like guest child wore off. And so then they just start asking me to do stuff, and even if I understood what they were saying, like I'd be like, what? And then they'd be like, oh, just ask the other ones to do it. I'm like, you know what I mean?
That's a perfect card to play. I don't even. You lost me at. Can you do this?
You lost me. Can you do?
You lost me at that part. I couldn't.
I wanted to go
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring me food. I thought you were going to get some food. And I'm hungry. Okay, I want to talk now about like art. And you mentioned the art that was, prevalent in Sudan during this time. But I also want to talk about the art that you kind of use, or like you the creativity, because obviously you mentioned before you're an artist, you're an actor, you're a poet, but your acting and your poet isn't just focused on Sudan. It's so many other things. Talk to me about how you've used art as an outlet. What the role art has played in your life, moving a little bit away from Sudan, but just see how you're inspired as a creative too. What role has art played in your kind of like journey?
I mean, it's been like a huge part of my life because like I'm not like someone who like just decided like a few years ago I wanted to like try out acting. I've like always wanted to do something to do with like acting or music. I always like put it back to like when I was younger. My mum took us to see The Lion King at theatre, and like I just remember like my brother coming in, like I think it was for like my sister's birthday. I think I was like 7 or 8 or something, and like my brother like came into our room and he wasn't in school uniform, and he was like, "We're like, why aren't you in school uniform?" He's like, "Because I'm not going to school today." And we were like, "What? That's so unfair." And then my mum like comes up the stairs and she's like, "No one's going to school today." And this is just like such a big memory of
That's a beautiful memory.
And like she'd like saved up her money to be able to like afford to take us all to the theatre. And like back in the day, like you could ask, they didn't fine you for not being at school. You shouldn't be at school. But like she'd like ask the teacher like, "Oh, can I take them out for the afternoon?" And the teacher was like, "Just take them out for the whole day." But my mum didn't tell us why. So she just like took us to London on the train, and then we were like in a cafe, and then like my uncle appeared, and we were like, "Oh, like look, he's just walks past the window." In my head I was like, "How random, it just bumped into my uncle." And then she like took us to see The Lion King, and like we were like in the stalls and all the animals.
That's amazing.
And like seeing like young Nala and stuff, and I was like, I want to be her. I want to do that. And like I just remember afterwards like seeing all the people with like their masks and stuff like backstage and stuff like that, and being like, "Oh cool, like that's what I want to do." So I feel like I don't know what drew me to it, but I do remember like even like when we did school plays, like people being like, "I'm scared," and I'd be like, "Oh no, I have butterflies, like I'm excited." Like, do you know what I mean? It's still nerves, it's still the same thing, but it's like that how you feel about it. And for me it was like, oh, I know this feeling for me is like the excitement. And I remember like doing plays at school and like the teachers being like, "That was like really good, like we were talking about you in the staff room." Being like, oh, like I wasn't doing it from a place. I was quite shy at school. Like I was more shy, like kind of kept myself to myself, wasn't necessarily like the most outgoing person. But like when I did that, like people would be like, "Oh, we were talking about you like in the staff room, like that was really good." And like just like enjoying that feeling of being on stage.
Did you know even back then you were like, "Oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life," or was it just like, "I just really like doing this, I want to do it tomorrow, I don't really care about"?
No, I wanted to do it. I was like I wish my mum would just like let me be a child actor. And my mum was like, "No, you need childhood." And I was like, "But if you had, I'd be so much further now." But I do see it. Like I understand.
Yes.
But I'm also like, but I always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I do understand why.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is like in my head, it was always acting. But then I found in like a book or something, like I was clearing out my mum's house before she moved, found like a book from like year 5 where you had to write like, "When I'm this age, I'll go to university. When I'm this age, I'll get married. When I'm this age," and in it I'd written like, "I will go to music college." And I was like, oh, I thought I always wanted to go to drama school. But I used to like do a lot of music, play the piano and the clarinet and singing and stuff like that. And then I think I just did so much at school, like it filled up all my lunch times and like stuff like that I kind of got to A-levels and stopped and kind of forgot about it. So now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, music. And I'm kind of on a journey back to music now. So yeah, I feel like acting is great and I love it. And especially, like I said, like I love the stage. I want to do more screen, but I love the stage. But I feel like a bit like the poetry, Like I've always like written bits down, but never told anyone I was writing bits down. I feel like those are more me. Like it's more vulnerable, but it's also like me expressing myself. Somehow I feel like that's kind of where I'm at now. I feel like I went from like doing like acting where I was like creating other people's stuff, and some of it's really fun. But now I'm like, okay, what stories do I want to tell?
That's beautiful. And I think it's so cool to rediscover that childhood love. Like that thing that you first fell in love with. I think that tells a lot about ourselves, and to see the growth that we go through. Like I think for me, it was the same thing with poetry. Like I used to love writing, but then I went into the whole football thing. I was trying to be a baller. I was going to Sunday training, Saturday training, all of that, matches. And for the longest time, I thought that was where my journey would take me. And then it didn't end up there. And then I was like, okay, cool. I'm never going to do football again. And I was a bit listless for a while, just like not knowing what I wanted to do. And then I found through poetry and through just writing, it wasn't just poetry, it was literally just like writing and reading. I began to understand more about the world. I found my curiosity again. And through that came through to become where it is today. So I think there's a lot of like, so something to be said about that, finding that childhood spark that you had and rediscovering that. And I think it's so important to rediscover that and like kind of like use that to express yourself. And I think like you're saying, like, it is beautiful. And I think it's beautiful to see you express. Like I said, it was so cool to see you do that poem. And, you know, it's like, because
Jeff maybe did poem. We work a poetry night and I wasn't planning to. And he was like, yeah, just jump up, which is good. I like it. I need that sort of thing. He's like, just get up and do a poem. And I was like, I did one about Sudan. I was like, this is going to be a completely different vibe than what else is in the world.
It was amazing. It was brilliant. And honestly, I didn't think you were going to do it. Like I like to do that to people.
I'm an actor.
Yes, like fuck it, yeah, go on. But no, it was amazing, and I think it's such a cool thing because I know for sure there's someone in that crowd who'd never seen that perspective before, and that's what I love about poetry and just language, so beautifully and like concisely too, like show them a picture of something that they needed to understand. And it wasn't, oh, like, let me sit you down and like, you know, tell you about this thing that will go in depth. Maybe they need that, you know, but in that moment, what that was for them was like a little opening of that window, you know, it's like, oh, there's a whole other world here that I'm not even like understanding about. I think that's what's so important. I think that the diaspora of creatives shedding light on these things that are happening back home. I'm trying to do that more often too, you know, like kind of like use my, I guess, talents now to kind of like give a voice to people that I know that may not have one in this field, you know, not you know, maybe not have the voice here, but I have a chance to do that. I'm kind of stuck in between two walls trying to balance both and show people, actually, wait, no, there's more to Africa, there's more to our culture.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's needed, but it's also like a good reminder. Like you're very good at doing that. Like you're very like upbeat, positive person. Like, maybe you're not like that all the time. But that's like you give off like that energy. It's always like whenever you see Jeff, it's always like he's always really warm. He's always like happy to see you. Nothing's ever like that big of to see you.
It's true.
Like,
it's not that deep.
It's not that easy. Like, but it's really nice. Then it's like really encouraging when it's like, no, just do that thing. And it's like, it kind of does bring out like that child thing of like, just try it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's just a space to like play. Like,
yeah,
do it.
Absolutely. And it's always fine. We've talked a lot today, and I think people should absolutely go and do their own research. I think check you out. Obviously, I have your stuff in the description, but like make sure that they do their research, they understand, and they can see what is going on, but also what they can do. But before we wrap up, what is it that you think people can do? Like, not from a perspective of just like making themselves aware, but also what can people who are not aware of the situation and not as close to the situation, what can they do to kind of like make themselves helpful? You know what I mean? Like help in any sort of way that they can.
I mean, there's definitely things like places to donate. I think like to touch back on like when I spoke about like the resistance committees we spoke about really briefly, like in the revolution they were kind of like the neighborhood committees on the front line, and like since the war they've been the people to protect the civilians. Like they've been the ones to like find safe passage and safe routes like out of the city, and like they've been working with like community kitchens to like feed people, because both sides, the RSF and SAF, have like stolen aid and like kicked out aid workers. Once again, like They're not here to help the civilians, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But the emergency response rooms are. So like donating to ones like that, like there's Afia community kitchen, there's I'll give you some names.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you can like help them, but then I think it is also like, especially if you're on social media, like there's some wonderful people. Like there's someone called Sarah who lives in the US, and her Instagram is BS on Blast, and like she does daily updates. So when people tell me like there's nowhere to find anything, I'm like, you've literally got like, do you not have any idea how exhausting it is? It's been over 900 days of war to every day give people an update. Like and then she'll share like links to resources and different things like that. So I think like, yeah, if you're happy to, I'll give you like some names of people to follow. There's like, and like then we also have like events and stuff like that. Like I'm part of Medania. Like we did an event called like the Hosh, and we like got a bunch of like Sudanese DJs, and we had like a night and we like partied. And although it kind of is like sometimes feels a bit wrong to celebrate when there's a war, like one of my friends once said like, we can't let Burhan and Hemeti ruin our days as well. And like to go back to that thing of like people, like Sudanese are such joyful people. I'm telling you, like when the bombs are dropping, they're still finding a way to laugh. Like let's not let that crush our spirit. Yeah, and I think just then maybe we didn't touch on it so much, but like there is like so much history. Like Sudan has more pyramids than I think like anywhere in the world, like more pyramids than Egypt. Like all those people that are like, oh, I'm Nubian, like the Kingdom of Kush, or like that just love ancient Egypt. Like learn a little bit about Sudan, because like that's where like the kingdoms first started. That's why there's the most pyramids there, and then they like moved their way up until they got to the Mediterranean. So I think it's just about like educating ourselves, and like because we're in such a social media world, yes, sometimes we can get weighed down by like the horrors, and like obviously we've seen videos of all the horrors like coming out of El Fasher and things like that. Like it's really important to like remember the joyful things, and like if you know a Sudanese person, like ask them, check on them, but also like follow some of these pages, and like you'll see some of the more like joyful things. A lot of people are trying to now like post things about like the like wonderful things about Sudan, or like showing you actually what Darfur looks like. It's like rainforests and waterfalls. It's so beautiful, but unfortunately like we can't go there. So yeah, I think it's like remembering, like centering Sudanese voices, and remembering that there's like joy and beauty there, and it's not just this like war-torn country. And also just to be like really wary of what you're viewing, because some of it is not real. Some of it is AI. Some of it is
help us all.
do you know what I mean? Like I saw some video and everyone's like saying, oh my God. And I'm like, this is AI. This is not what Sunnis, like Sunnis people don't have time to document themselves just going to a camera. Like, so like find some trusted like sources, like what I'll give to you as a post. And then just like come to our events. Like if you're in London, like follow London for Sudan, follow Medania. Like we have events, and like it's not like all horrible. It's like you'll get some information about stuff, but like we're also doing fundraisers. There's wonderful films you can watch. There's a documentary called Sudan Remember Us, which is like you can stream from Watermelon Pictures. There's like beautiful like documentary talking about trees. Like there's just so many wonderful things to see as well. Just like remember, we're more than just like this war-torn African country. Like
absolutely. And I think just there, what you just said there as last is like the most important thing. I think too much times I see it happen over and over again, where whenever Africa is involved in a struggle, it becomes that becomes our identity, and all the history that gets lost. And you know, we are painted by our colonizers as these victims, unholy victims, and we must be made sorry for. And like there is, both things can be true. You can absolutely see what's going on and try to like give more of a, you know, a voice to it, and go, actually, yeah, it's important to see it. But like the people aren't victims. The people are absolutely strong people who are resisting, who are trying to keep joy, who are trying to do these, you know, kind of like live life, you know, in the midst of all these things. And I think trying to like remember both is very important, and not to try to like look at these, not to like to look at these things in a kind of like a dark light all the time, you know. Again, we keep coming back to like there is war still happening, and so we do need to put like, you know, attention on that.
Yeah, that is also a big thing. Like, there is a war happening. It's been going on for a long time, far too long. It's like the biggest humanitarian catastrophe of our time. I know there's a lot happening in the world, but like don't just like switch off, but also don't like feel like you have to doom scroll. Like doom scrolling's not helping your soul. Like, you know, do something uplifting.
Exactly that.
Like come to a fundraiser and watch a film that you'll learn something about it. You'll give some money to the cause, and like you'll meet some Sudanese people.
And you understand more about Sudanese culture, and I think that's very important. And I think what you're doing is amazing. I was introduced to this kind of, I knew about Sudan, but I was introduced to this and your kind of perspective on it through the poems and seeing you do also protest and everything else you're doing with this. I think it's super cool. I think the people, we're all in position to use our voices, and sometimes has a responsibility with that, where you're like, oh man, like, okay, I know I have to say something, but I feel like me saying something is a bit like, but it's a navigating. I think you're doing really well to navigate the two and like, you know, use that voice and use that perspective to not just show what's going on, but also show the different side of it, which I really relate and I really like appreciate and think you're doing really well in that. So thank you. Thank you for speaking to me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for using your platform to talk to so many different people. It's been nice.
It's been nice. I'd love to do this again. This was really, really interesting and really enjoyable. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. But until next time, peace.